And we are live. We are live. The tweet is up and running. It is out. Guys, I've got two of you on one screen. A magical moment. Where have you two been?
We've just been down at Fancy Free down in Brooklyn. Absolutely bumping down there. Red hot atmosphere, packed with gooners and one City fan who was sat next to me, bizarrely.
One City fan.
Started supporting City 15 months ago. I had to really stop myself. He was a nice guy. He was a nice guy.
He was a nice guy. He was nice.
But I really enjoyed walking out of there and shaking his hand and saying well played and not meaning it in the slightest.
And he had one of those City Zen shirts on, like he'd been there for 30 years. Like,
Beautiful. Well, we've got a lot of people in the room waiting for this podcast. So I think I'm just going to turn the loop off and we're just going to get cracking right now.
Mirror man, you twist and turn my mind until I don't know who I am. Mirror man.
Good morning and welcome to a new edition of the Arsenal Opinion Podcast. For the first time in the podcast history, we are here in the Premier League presiding over a win against Manchester City. The boogeyman has been slayed. Everything is plain sailing from here. We're going to win the league. I'm joined by Mac Andela. I'm joined by Aash. How are you guys doing right now? What's the vibe in Brooklyn?
I don't know, it's a bit quiet, man. Pumping! Absolutely pumping. What a win. What a win. What a game.
What a game. I think you can't really enjoy what's happened until afterwards. But at half-time, it really felt like one of those epic encounters. And, you know, when City were playing Liverpool for a few years and we were sort of looking forlornly on and going, wouldn't it be great to be just even part of that conversation? This felt like one of those. It felt like a titanic struggle. The game swung between the two teams and then we'll know what happened. Wow. Just absolutely incredible ending, right?
Aash is at the beginning of the end for Manchester City. Have Arsenal defeated the Death Star?
I think that's folly if we think that. I think it's going to get even harder now. But what a big statement. If you go back to last season, you know, one or two decisions, VAR related against Brentford and one win against City, it's a different season. And we've made one of those big steps today. That's the important part.
We have indeed. It feels a bit weird. I'm kind of with Matt a little bit. It's like those sorts of like chess-like games, Arsenal were always on the wrong end of them. You know, if Manchester City had won that game today, it would have been like, well, guys, that's what champions do. They find a way. And instead, it's us. And I don't know how to react. I wasn't sure how to react to a draw, but that was a top-level game of football out there today. And we've got lots of things to talk about. So we're just going to go to our part of the show that we love.
Hottest of takes.
The
Hottest of takes. The AOP. Hottest of takes. Make it spicy.
Ash, we're going to go to you for this week's first hottest of takes. Take it away.
I think after 5 minutes, I was worried that my hottest of takes today is, despite City having good moments in that game, we were in control of it. And I don't think I've seen us play top two, top four side where it's been end to end like that, and we've never looked like conceding. I thought our back four were absolutely outstanding today.
You're on mute.
So Matt, where are you taking your spicy hot take?
So my spicy hot take is the game. It felt like it went in waves. They were on top. We were on top. We were on top. They were on top. And I think my hottest of takes is that last season, I think we had the best 1-11 in the league. And then when we suffered a couple of injuries, specifically the Saliba and Tomiyasu injury, we just fell apart. And psychologically, we were done and we just didn't have anything to lean on. This was an interesting game, right? Because just like that, I thought on 73, 75 minutes, the game had run its course. I thought we'd run our race. But the difference was that this season, Arteta was able to make a triple substitution. Tomiyasu, Partey, Havertz, they come on. And from looking like we were just running out of steam and heading towards just trying to consolidate on a point, we were able to regain a foothold in the game. And it was really Thomas Partey, Kai Havertz, and Tomiyasu as well, who all contributed towards that end push that got us over the line. So my hottest of takes is we're no longer a 1-11, we're a squad. And I think we've got now a group of players who are way more suitable to run the race of the whole season. So I'm extremely optimistic about the season, knowing that we can call on players. I need to see it again, but it was Tomiyasu, Havertz, Martinelli's 3 subs combining for the winning goal. When was the last time we saw that? Absolute Arteta masterstroke. And he gets pelted sometimes for his subs, but you can't argue with that.
He would bring 140 million off the bench.
No, it makes a difference.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. My host of takes is finally, we seem to have got the defense right out there today. I don't think I can big up this number enough. Manchester City had 4 shots all game, 1 shot on target. That is absolutely unbelievable defending. That's every man putting in a shift. David Raya had some shaky moments, but he didn't really have much to do out there today. I thought William, Saliba and Gabriel were absolutely unbelievable. I thought Declan Rice was so sharp. To reduce the best attacking team in the world to 4 shots is staggering. I can't get over it. I couldn't even believe it. It felt like we'd gone toe to toe that whole game. But when you look at a number like that, they're not even getting shots off target. And I just go back, like just remember that Watford game where Watford had 30 shots at our goal, and now we're reducing Manchester City to 4 shots. Unbelievable defensive performance out there today. There's a lot of things to talk about, guys. I don't even know where to start. I think I am actually going to start with this. Let's get it out of the way nice and early. Get the whinge out. This would have been our little excuse early on. The referees keep on making mistakes, and then people like Gary Neville say, listen, everybody makes mistakes. Every week it seems like Howard Webb is apologizing for some other refereeing atrocity. We had another one today. Kovacic nearly snapped the ankle of Martin Odegaard and then didn't get sent off for a second yellow card. Guys, what are we making of this referee? And how can it was Michael Oliver, wasn't it?
It was the same guy who sent Martinelli off for 2 yellows in the same passage of play. So let's just put him into context.
I don't understand how he can be so absolutely sure without a replay on these things. Are we ever going to get to better refereeing until there's an investigation? What do we make of the decisions today? Because we can be honest now, because it doesn't matter. We won.
I think there's a consistency issue here. Part of the individuals, and human error is always going to occur in these things. But I think it's a consistency problem. And I think if you give, some of the yellows that we got for some of the crappy things that happened, and then that happens, by the way, Kovacic's first yellow for that challenge gets the same penalty as Tomiyasu wasting a bit of time at a throw-in, which he didn't. It's the same penalty. And that just doesn't seem to feel right for me. I'm not sure it's an individual's fault, but there's got to be some significant shift in how they're refereeing these games. I don't know what you thought. I thought that was a straight red anyway. And they went and reviewed it. The second yellow, he can't use the review for. That's fair enough. Maybe he didn't see it well enough or whatever it might be, but I don't know. I thought Kovacic shouldn't have been on the park. But that said, I think if they'd gone down to 10 men, it may have actually given them a bit of juice. So, look, we've won. We take the result, and that's what we've got to do.
I think this is my honest take on the first one. I think it was absolutely borderline. Whether it's an orange, right? It's a horrible tackle, but I think the difference was that the foot was on the ground. It wasn't off the ground. And I think if it was 1 millimeter off the ground, it's a straight red. But the fact that it wasn't meant that the referee had a choice to make. And I think he wanted to protect the game. So I think it could go either way. I think you can't argue if it's a red, and you're very fortunate if it's a yellow. And I think that's the most impartial way of looking at it. But then what happened is that there's a yellow foul offence on Declan Rice straight after.
Yeah.
And I think it's the combination of the two, because as soon as that happens, you're like, well, that's off, because you were so lucky with the first one And then that second one for me was a clear yellow. If he hadn't been booked before, it's a yellow.
Definitely.
And it wasn't that he'd just been booked before. It was an orange. It was a really, really bad tackle. And I think
my wrong thing, he'd also had a couple before that were a little bit close as well.
I mean, he was an absolute disgrace. So I think there's no way he should have been on the pitch, but he was quite fortunate with the way that it all unfolded. I think that's trying to take emotion out of it is my closest take on what actually happened there.
It's another messy performance from a referee. Arsenal on the receiving end of it again. I'm glad that we don't have to talk about it for too long today, but I just thought we can't let that go. That could have been game changing. Never goes against Manchester City. It never goes against Manchester City, but it didn't matter today. So let's get on to the game. Saka out nice and early. A lot of people pretending that they knew that he was in the squad and that he was going to start. You were all wrong. Bukayo rested. Arsenal beat Manchester City without our best player. How good does that feel, guys? Was it the correct decision? And but more importantly, after that, let's talk about the starting 11 because it wasn't everyone's favorite, right?
I could see what he was doing. I would have preferred he started with the 11 that we pretty much finished with, being completely honest. But look, it's hard to complain about anything when you come out of a game like that, winning 1-0. Look, I thought Trossard was quiet. That Raya definitely had his issues. I'm really glad that Arteta didn't blow his top and make some crazy changes at halftime. I was kind of predicting it. I didn't want him to. I thought the change he made at halftime was bang on. If Martinelli's fit, I mean, I would have thought about starting him, but I can understand why that's not a thing. But look, I thought Eddie had a good game, but Eddie wasn't playing up top. He wasn't leading the line. He was playing as a false nine. That's what I felt. I don't know about you.
I think I was worried when I saw Jorginho because he's not been great this season when I've seen him come on. But he obviously wanted to go for his experience in the middle. And I thought Partey would have been a better bet. Trossard we were expecting. And then it was a case of were we going to see Eddie or Kai? The concern I had around Eddie was Eddie's so great at hustle, but I'm not sure that hustle really unsettles Manchester City. You know, they're
all playing against the back three, to be fair.
And they're so calm under pressure. But I feel like what we did is I think the subs that came on actually benefited from having the opponents softened up a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I thought Partey came on and was better than Jorginho. I thought Havertz came on and was better than Eddie. But like, would that have been the case? I thought Martinelli obviously completely changed the game. And, you know, I mean, he's just he was just phenomenal on that left-hand side. But I guess the question is, did Arteta get it right? Because essentially they've been softened up a little bit by their predecessors in the game. But when you get the win, you can't argue. I thought Eddie in the first half and Eddie in the second half were two completely different beasts. I thought he was passive in the first half, and I thought he came out in the second half and was really, really strong. So, what did you think of the team?
I didn't like it. I was a little bit nervous. I was like, there's a lot of players in here that have been playing in second gear this season, and we're expecting them to jump to 5. Jorginho's not been good. Eddie has been in and out. I was hoping for Kai Havertz, masterclass, playing as the false 9. We know that he liked playing that in other teams previously, and I thought his aerial advantages would give us a nice way out if we were going to play pragmatically. And I think the biggest problem in the first half for me was fear.
Yeah.
I think that I don't think you can say you know how Arsenal are going to play in the opening 2 minutes because we generally play well in the opening 2 minutes these days. But you could definitely sense when Raya was missing his targets, when our centre-backs weren't doing their thing. Declan Rice looked a little bit lost in that midfield because he doesn't have much of a partnership thing going with Jorginho. I think everybody felt like Man City was going to happen to them. So I don't know what happened in the dressing room at half-time, but there was definitely a bit of an inferiority complex. And we've seen that against Manchester City a lot of times.
We changed that in the second half of the first half.
Changed it, yeah.
But in the second half of the first half, I think.
But we said this at half-time. It did feel like in that first 15, 20 minutes, we were playing within ourselves completely. We weren't there. We hadn't quite clicked yet. We were doing enough to get away with stuff, but we didn't really seem like we were there. But after that, And the beginning of the second half, I thought we were phenomenal.
But
So, question on that. A lot of people were like, yeah, we were playing within ourselves. I think the criticism before that when Matt and I spoke about in the before the whistle, the criticism was that Arsenal go too gung ho at home. Like we've just had North London forever. Win the dog is, licking everybody's legs, and Arsenal like we got to do it for the dog. We go all in the opening 15 minutes and do something stupid. Do you think playing within ourselves was part of the strategy? It seemed a lot of sort of sitting on the ball, going a little bit slower than we usually do, letting Man City come at us. Was that part of the strategy, guys?
Well, we were saying, weren't we, at one point, we were saying it feels like they're doing what Arteta's told them, but it's just not really quite working, because it's like we were doing all the right things, but we weren't getting really the right outcomes. We were trying to be composed, we were trying to be controlled, but in the end, it just felt more fearful than anything else. And it was when we, Arsene Wenger famously talked about taking the handbrake off. And I feel like as soon as we started playing with the handbrake off, we were able to gain more control, bizarrely, because there was just a little bit more ambition about the passing. And you just sort of saw it. But let's David Raya, I mean, we'll get into it. I feel like that's a topic all in itself in the first half, looked extremely nervous. When Declan Rice knocks his first pass out of play, I mean, that's very un-Declan Rice. And we were just a bit all over the shop for the first 20 minutes, but we just found a foothold. I think Martin Odegaard was amazing at just sort of bringing everyone together. And I thought we just managed to get a foothold in the game again. And yeah, it was great.
I think whether it was deliberate or not, Pete's a great question, because I think it's really easy to put the narrative in. Obviously, hindsight's always going to win an argument, right? Which is just don't concede in the first 30 minutes. And we are particularly bad at that at home. And I don't know about you, but I felt that Rice was playing deeper than Jorginho in the first half. When they switched that a bit more at halftime, Rice was further forward. It kind of worked in our favour a little bit better. Now, I don't know whether that's because you're also bringing Martinelli on. You've got the left side operating a bit better. You've got those overloads working a bit better. I don't know. But I think there's something in it. I think we definitely went to not concede rather than to take complete control of the game in that first 20. But we grew into it beautifully. We grew into it. And the changes, obviously.
Yeah. We do also retrofit how a game goes into tactics. And we're like, well, keep it steady for the first 60 and then put the turbo boosters on towards the end, bring on all the special players, bring on that ideal 11 and then see where it goes. I guess just before we move out of this, if you're watching this on YouTube, smack the like button right now. You know the rules. Smack it. Okay, let's move on to the next topic. David Raya played like he wanted to go back to Brentford in the first half. It was probably one of the most nervous goalkeeper performances we've seen in the last 5 years. He was all over the place. He was falling out with Gabriel, couldn't get his distance on his long passes, his short passes, looked panicked. He got himself into trouble. There was that one moment where he took a touch instead of blasting it out. David Raya did not look like the Iceman today. Guys, what's going on? Is playing Man City when you're Arsenal is not the same as playing Man City when you're Brentford, clearly.
Someone said it was Peter Cech.
It wasn't. Yeah, it was a little bit.
Remember when he played against Man City and he nearly backpassed it into his own goal? And I think it was Unai Emery's first home game. You said you thought it was one of the worst performances from a goalkeeper,
from an Arsenal goalkeeper in a number of years. Yeah, but he didn't concede, and I do think City targeted him. By the way, I really do. But that's still not an excuse. But look,
in what way? By closing off angles for his passes or shutting him down?
I think they were way smarter than we were with Edison. I think we had some of those opportunities up the other end, which we didn't necessarily. But I also think we were nervous and we didn't want to go that far up, and we didn't want to concede. So maybe that's part of the whole thing. Look, he missed a couple of crosses. He made 3 mistakes in the first 7 minutes. But you can't fault him in the second half, can you?
Oh, the passing was so crisp.
Absolutely outrageous.
It was absolutely outstanding.
He pinged the low one to Jesus crossfield early on into feet. I was like,
but it literally was a game of two halves for him, because it was just so phenomenal in the second half. His distribution.
For everything he didn't do in the first half, he did absolutely more in the second.
Didn't really have to pull out any world-class saves.
No
I think we
saves,
said before.
right? Was there a
I think,
save?
I think before the game, we said, it'd be interesting to see how he does against an onslaught. Manchester City have come to us and had 25 shots on goal. So he didn't. We still haven't seen what his shot stopping looks like over a sustained period of time. I also, it's like, he's playing in front of 60,000. He is on loan, so there's no security there. Like you have a bad run of games, you are back to Brentford, my friends. But it was good to see that. Well, number one, that when Arteta said he likes to, he wished he could sub goalkeepers. It's good to see that he was talking absolute nonsense because
I thought he was going to do it at halftime. I really, based on that statement, having said what he said, I thought he was going to do it. I don't know why, but it's one of those crazy days where, look, we've just beaten City at home 1-0. It's a crazy day anyway. That hasn't happened in a long time. But I actually thought he would do it. But fair play. I think the manager was very level-headed today, actually, for once.
It would have been. If that was a true statement, let's be honest, we all know it's not a true statement.
Yeah,
it's just him just trying to keep everyone happy. Raya would have been subbed off, but the reality is he managed to settle him down, and he put in he showed in the second half why we signed him. But the last thing you want in the first half is the camera panning to the subs bench to pick up on Aaron Ramsdale, because when that happens, it either means something incredible has been done by Raya or something terrible. And in this case, they were panning to him because they were going, "Wait a minute, this guy is yeah." But
without, okay, so do we think Aaron Ramsdale would have done better than him in that first half? I mean, that's the real question at the end of the day, and that's so hard.
I don't. And the interesting, we talk about those two halves. You guys have just sat in a pub, you've probably smashed a few beers. You had a feeling that his passing was better in the second half. His overall pass completion rate was 67% for the whole game. Second half, he made 11 successful passes out of 20.
Oh, wow.
So 55%. So it was actually a little bit worse. But I think it was the passes that landed were like, whoa, unbelievable. They were the money pass.
So I think it's a fair point, right? There's a few people in the comments saying, "Wait a minute, we beat City. What's with all the negativity?" And I think we're just trying to get out some of the negativity out of the system at the beginning, and because ultimately it was an absolute joy fest, wasn't it?
Yeah. So let's talk about the next topic. If you want a bit of positivity, I've got Haaland, because he had it didn't work. It didn't work. I was trying to say that Haaland had 0 XG for the entire game. Have you ever seen a player of that quality silenced to that level? That's humiliating. That's sorry, mate. You're not coming back on the private jet. You're getting a train back. That was one of the worst Haaland performances I've ever seen. He was completely nullified by Arsenal all game. It was a combo move. Ash, how did Arsenal go about keeping Haaland so quiet?
I did the commentator use his name? I mean, I don't feel like he was on the park. I mean, I started with the hottest of takes with our back four. I thought Saliba and Gabriel just put paid. I mean, there was a service element as well that he wasn't really getting, but every time he touched the ball, there was a couple of bad touches. There was a couple of, mate, he just didn't look at the races at all. But that said, we were brilliant at the back. And I don't think that was Haaland having a bad day. He may have been having a bad day, but it was made easy by our defence being so good.
Matt, the two Hollywood players that we've got in the Premier League under the age of 23 at the moment are William Saliba and Haaland. Today, how are you stacking them?
I mean, Saliba. I mean, where do you even start with this guy? Because I think we've seen in the last few games, he's got those. He's almost like a comp machine. He can step away. He's got the tricks. He's got the recovery pace. And that's sort of what we've seen all season. We've seen that sort of flamboyance, the way he steps out. But today it was all business. It was just like no, we are not giving you anything today. And there was less of the Saliba excitement and more of just the Saliba just like shut the doors down. I just want to go back a few months to what Haaland did to Rob Holding. I mean, that was triple X rated. It was brutal. It was horrible. No one should ever have to see what happened to Rob Holding. Today, you just saw the difference when you have Saliba. He absolutely shut him down. Faster, more physical. Just didn't even give him a sniff. It was, I mean, we're so lucky to have William Saliba. I don't think there's even a conversation about who the best centre-half in the Premier League is now. I think we've seen the people who people are talking about, like the Guardiola. He's like probably he's the one that people talk about now of being like probably the best centre-half. I mean, Saliba.
Not for me. Made some rascal passes out there today.
It's easy to talk about Saliba's defending, but there was everything else as well. I mean, he had a fantastic game.
Saucy. It was
saucy.
saucy.
Someone at some point.
That was Ben White. Oh man, that's a whole nother. I mean,
happy birthday, Benny Blanco, by the way.
That was, but it's also the two of them. It's Gabriel and Saliba. They're just
monsters.
It's the North London Wall. I absolutely love that. It's the North London Wall. They put it up. No one could get past those two. I mean, it's crazy to think that Gabriel didn't start the first 3 games of the season. When the two of them are in the mood, and we've just got to keep those two fit. Because when those two are fit, everything's going to be all right.
He is an unbelievable talent. I'm going to say it. He is the best defender in the world now, no doubt. Do you need a trophy for that award? Maybe, but for me, best defender in the world. If you said to any coach, who do you want in your side right now? They're all saying William Saliba.
I think if we win a trophy, that will be the most obvious statement in the world. But I think until we do, no one outside of our team is going to say that. But I agree.
I'm drunk on joy.
I agree with it. I agree with it. He is.
It was joy. All right. I think he's still trying to get out of his pocket, isn't he?
He is. Let's go on to another topic because before the game, Pep Guardiola said, yeah, we tried to sign Declan Rice for when Rodri's not playing. I think Declan Rice heard him because he put in a 10 out of 10 performance today. It was a little bit shaky in the opening 20. I think he was trying to figure out what was going on with this Jorginho fella next to him. But as he grew with the game, the awareness, the blocking, the interceptions, some of the passes. Guys, talk to me about Declan Rice. Is he the most value that you're ever going to get for 105 million?
I don't know. How does this guy get better every week? I mean, he does. And how can he have more in the tank? He's just unbelievable. I mean, it doesn't matter where he's playing, does it? Whether he's going forward or whether he's defending or he's tracking back or he's in it. I mean, I think this guy could be a generational player for us. I really believe that. And to say that after 8 games isn't folly or madness or getting carried away with it. We've seen some phenomenal players play for our football club. But this guy could be in that top 3 comfortably.
Earlier in the week, someone said to Declan Rice, who would you like to think of yourself as having a career like? Who do you think you can match up to? And he goes, who would you like to be thought of in the same breath as? And, because he's so smart. He goes, I want to be in the same breath as Vieira. And
normally Arsenal fans would be like, whoa!
We're not talking Fabio. We're not talking Fabio Vieira here. and like just the confidence to say that, but also let's just look at it another way. People coming into these Guardiola Arteta systems, it's like, it's hard, right? It might take 6 months. Jack Grealish a year. They're complex, they're difficult. He's been playing Moyes ball, all of that sort of stuff. Even at the beginning, he was just like, he had a couple of bit shaky games in pre-season. The guy's just got it. He's just grasped it. He just slotted into the system. He can play a lone pivot. And then the most exciting thing for me that happened today is the Rice and Partey combo. Because when you put those two together, you've just got a whole nother dimension. It's unreal. So they just took over. Last 17 minutes, when we were on the ropes a little bit, not on the ropes, but they were like these. It was the game had these ebbs and flows, and it felt like they were having their flow. We were screaming for the subs, brought them on, put those two together, game over, shut down.
Definitely. I mean, look, the ebbs and flows are quite interesting, aren't they? Because they were definitely playing the ball sideways a lot more than we were. We were definitely trying to break the line. I think we had more intent going forward, but the minute Thomas Partey came on, it just felt different. It felt like, I got this, boys. I got this. And damn, he looked good.
It was a sexy performance out there today. I just can't believe that he's played under David Moyes for so long and he's just clicked. But I thought it would be like post-Christmas before we saw the best of him. He's everywhere. And you know, you have to go a long way to be in the same breath as Vieira. But I do think his talent and the things that he can do and he's the robustness in his body. I don't think it's going to be long before we're saying, listen, he's a top three midfielder for Arsenal over the last 20 years. I honestly think that he can get there.
And obviously, Rodri's amazing, but there's one thing that Rodri can't do, in my opinion, which is just those recoveries. I don't think he can do the recoveries in the same way that Declan Rice is. Where
power.
He hasn't got the pace.
He hasn't got the pace. Rice is out of picture. There's someone striding forward, and then you're like, wait a minute, what's that on the top right of the picture? And it's just a blur, and Declan Rice is just coming in, and it's just phenomenal. And these guys, every Premier League football, you can't be a Premier League footballer without pace, really, nowadays. But for him to have such a level above everyone else in recovery and endurance is just like, that's.
But not only that, he doesn't commit the foul. He's happy to go down if he needs to. He'll stay on his feet. Doesn't make those mistakes. I'm sure they'll happen at some point, right? It happens to every human. But it's not like he's running back, tracking back, and committing that tactical foul just to save the team. He's getting the ball back, retaining the ball, and driving it forward. I mean, it's just unheard of.
He's got that sort of signature move, hasn't he? Like Vieira used to have it, where it's sort of like he knocks it up and then he flicks it over the head. Yeah. But Declan Rice has sort of got the one where he wins a lot of balls on the ground.
Yeah, sliding.
And then he's sort of like, and then it just sort of like, but uses his leg, and then the ball sticks with his leg. The player sort of goes over, and then he sort of strides up and strides off with it. It's a different signature move, and it's interesting because there's not many players winning the ball on the ground. But yeah, phenomenal.
I think I heard on the Athletic podcast they said he doesn't often slide, but when he does, he never misses. It's like it's basically his finishing move. But it's the way he slides, gets up, and it's out of his feet straight away.
Well, if you've seen the way he slides in, he's almost got his hands behind him to get straight back up when you look at him technically. So he takes the ball, bounces up, and then moves. I mean, it's art. It's absolutely art.
We've seen number 6, Declan. And I know that Arteta has talked to him about being a number 8 as well. So there's a lot more to come. I think that Arteta probably thinks that there's goals and the little pass in. I think he laid in Eddie after a tackle in the first half. Such a beautifully weighted pass. After you've got that excitement, that emotion that you've just made this incredible tackle, and then to just put the ball right into the path, he's like thinking 1, 2, 3 steps ahead. So,
but would it be fair to say that Rice was 6 in the first half and more like an 8 in the second?
I think so.
Yeah, no, I think he played much further up the pitch, didn't he? That was a bit of a tactical switch up by Vieira. Oh, not by Vieira, by Arteta. Got Vieira on the brain. All right, let's talk about. Big Kai thought he was going to start today. He didn't, but he came on and he got the assist for the winner. Can we lay off him a little bit? Were we happy with Kai on? Should he have started? Why do you think he didn't start, guys?
It's hard to make that determination. I would have started him today, but look, he's picked Eddie, and Eddie's done nothing wrong, by the way. And I think Eddie's often the brunt of some harsh decisions, but that is the nature of playing at a top 2 club. That's going to happen a lot. I thought when he came on, I thought he was intelligent. I thought he had control. I think his confidence has definitely taken a step up. getting on a game like that. Now, look, he scored the winner against that lot the last time he played them. You know, other than the Community Shield and that Champions League final. I thought he came on. He did a great job. And that last 5 to 7 minutes, the way he held the ball up, the way he was intelligent, he didn't let them have it. I mean, there were Olays in the pub way too early for our liking, to be fair. But I thought he came on. That was a great 20 something minutes he came on for. He did everything that was asked of him and set up a goal.
Matt, it sounds like Aash is going to have Havertz put all over his back. Are you going to do the same? What did you make of the Havertz performance? Is it time to stop with the slander?
I think we said it before. I think what's so unique about Kai Havertz is the profile of the player. He's absolutely massive. He's 6'4". He's absolutely rapid. He's got a great touch, and he's intelligent.
And he's a bit of a shit as well.
And
he gets in it, gets amongst it.
And he can win the duels, and he can take a coach's instruction and deliver it to the absolute minutest detail. So he's got all the pieces, and I don't think we've seen it all come to the fore. But I think it's so unique to have all those attributes all in one. And it was like the perfect occasion for him to come in, because he came in, he did everything he needed to do. He brought some control. The ball stuck to him. He obviously set up the goal. But even when he was getting the ball in the channel at the end and he was taking it to the corner, but everything was just so smart. There was no cheap giving away the ball. There was no, rush to the head of emotion. It was just absolutely spot on.
And was it 10 minutes to the end? He's tracking back, putting the tackles in, proper granite style. Oh, he was brilliant.
It was so smart. It was just that's
the player we signed.
And I think when you have young, exciting players, you almost need to wait for them to get the rashness out of their game before they mature. And sometimes they're more exciting in a way. When they're rash, it was I love watching Michael Owen and Wayne Rooney when they were at the beginning of their career. And it's almost like they become less exciting and they become more boring, but they don't make wrong decisions. And I feel like it's the same with him, is that he's done all the growing up. He makes the right decisions.
Do you think it's more boring or more efficient?
I think it's more efficient, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. I thought he was very efficient today, actually. It's probably the right word, isn't it?
And I think
they say that about Jack Grealish, don't they? Very excited at Villa.
Yeah, totally fair.
And it's just he just did exactly what we wanted. And I'm so happy for him, because I had a couple of Chelsea mates and they're messaging King Kai coming on off the bench. Yesterday people were saying Cole Palmer was everything that Kai Havertz promised to be. You're no, absolutely not.
Give it a rest.
He just came on, changed the game, set up the winner, assist against Manchester City, top of the table clash, won the game, late winner. Enough with the Kai slander. I don't know if the left 8 is going to work yet. I just thought he looked so much better up top.
He certainly did. I thought he made a difference today. 65 million. There's a comedian that was doing a piece. He's this comedian said on Instagram, he's like, I don't want to have to look what his predicted XG was after a game to know whether he played well or not. And I agree with it. It's we paid 65 million. I don't give a shit about off the ball movement. I don't care about how efficient his passing was. I want to see a bit of end product. Today, we got a bit of end product in a massive game against a team that we have not fared well against. And he was the difference maker. And he's a big game player. And he showed he was a big game player today. Now I want to see a little bit more of it. I tell you who else I want to see a little bit more of. Birthday boy, Benny Blanco. Oh, do we like Benny Blanco? Matt, you were writing an obituary for Benny Blanco at the end of last season after Rashford took him apart. He's listened to the criticism. He's come back. He's calmer. He's better on the ball. He's megging people. He's even more annoying if you're an opposition fan than he's ever been before. But did he show up today, and did he deal with Mr. Doku, who was a bit of a fear for me?
But what I'll say, because I often say it about Bukayo Saka, they go, "What's the best thing about Bukayo Saka?" And I always say it's not his pace, it's not his shooting, it's his decision making. And I'll say this about Benny Blanco: the best thing about Benny Blanco is his mentality. He's a mentality monster. He just absolutely is. When everyone was losing their shit in the first 20 minutes and nervy and anxious, the only player who wasn't, Ben White. Ben White is a guy who doesn't let nerves get to him. He wasn't going to let his birthday. He wasn't going to be nervous on his birthday. It just wasn't going to happen.
No way.
Benny Blanco looked like he was going to go on his birthday, win a game against Man City, and then book out China Whites in London and go for it. And brilliant. He deserves it. I thought he was outstanding today. I thought, by the way, there's an outside chance he could have been better if there was someone like Bukayo playing outside him. The number of runs he made around that outside of Gabby Jesus, where he was available a lot more, but the ball came back in. He defended like a Trojan. In fact, I think he covered a couple for Saliba early on against Haaland as well. By the way, Raya aside, no. And by the way, it didn't cost us. No one on our team put a foot wrong today. And he's pretty high on that list. Who got player of the match officially? It's between him and Gabby J for me.
Or Martinelli.
But hard
Who
to
we
win.
need to choose from?
Hard to win it.
We need someone in the comments to tell us who got the official man of the match. But Benny Blanco, I just think that nutmeg at the end just summed it up, wasn't it? It was just like game over.
But also the in-game, I don't know whether it was an instruction from Arteta, but the in-game intelligence for him to switch with Zinchenko before Zinchenko got subbed off. Doku is one of the fastest players in Europe. It's absolutely electric. And when he came on and Zinchenko was still on the pitch, I was like, oh no, here we go. Targeted attack. Benny Blanco switches it up, keeps him quiet, and then has the cheek, the audacity to make him. Get me the comp of that. I want that GIF playing on a constant loop for the rest of the day.
Wow, look at this. Martinelli, man of the match. Man of the match. Came on at half-time.
Fair.
Unreal performance.
Unreal indeed. Let's also talk about Tomiyasu. I thought Tomiyasu was going to start because I also thought Man City were probably going to play fast-paced wide men to take down the physical limitations of Zinchenko. It didn't happen, but Tomiyasu came on as an impact sub. He's pretty good at that, like help shut the game down. I think we should give him a little bit of credit. He hasn't got injured so far this season. He looks good every time he comes on. He looked fitter. He looks a bit sharper. Looks like he's gone from 6% body fat to 4%. What do we make of Tomiyasu's performance?
A few of us in the pub said this, that if you're bringing Party on, then you may as well get Zinks off and you should bring on Tomiyasu. And the guy didn't disappoint, didn't put a foot wrong. It was him actually that pushed the header onto Havertz to set the goal up. He was actually a lot higher up the pitch than I thought he would be for a game like this in that latter stages until we scored. But he held the line, did his job. Mate, they didn't have any joy around with any width around us at all today. Like, at all. I'd wonder how many crosses they put in. I don't think it was many. And that's, Zinchenko, Tomiyasu and Benny White to get credit for that. But I thought Tomiyasu shored it up beautifully. But I think when you got Party on in front of him, it really, in front of that back four, it really helped beautifully with him and Declan Rice. But he deserves a lot of credit. He's had a couple of tough games when he's played recently. He's not playing on his natural side, but he can clearly play across that back four. But he deserves all the plaudits he gets today.
Matt, you're a big fan of Tomiyasu, can play left back, right back, centre back. He can do it all at a very high level. Has he been unlucky not to get more minutes?
I just think we're trying to shift, and it's difficult because we've got Saliba and Gabriel, who are just so fucking awesome. But you look at how Man City played last season. They won the treble, but they basically had 6 defenders who played an equal amount of minutes. It wasn't like, we got 4 and then we're dropping people in on subs. And I think Tomiyasu is just like, I expect him to play as many minutes as Ben White, as Saliba, as Gabriel this season. It's just going to be in a variety of roles, but there's no reason to think that it won't be as important to do that. I think he's a better defender than Zinchenko. I think there's such an important role to him. We're now seeing him is basically, we'll start with Zinchenko, and then as soon as we've got something to protect, then it's Tomiyasu comes on, or we're up against pace merchant. But I think, fair play to Zinchenko, because we always say he can't defend, and there's this moment, 20 minutes to go, Doku versus Zinchenko, City are on the ascendancy, it's 1 versus 1, and Zinchenko just fucking won the ball and just took it out. And psychologically, it was the first time they stood up against each other. Doku goes the other side. Ben White, nope, not happening over here. Just phenomenal defending. And I think that's the important thing. You've got to defend as a team, but you've got to be able to defend those one-on-ones. Last season, I've still got trauma from that Zinchenko, Liverpool away, Trent one-on-one. But, he's still young, and I think he showed it today. It was one of those moments, and he showed what he'd learned, I think.
The thing that impresses me about Tommy is that he plays as a left-sided centre-half for Japan. He played as a right-sided centre-half for Bologna, where we signed him from. And we've played him at centre-half twice in 2.5 seasons. And
did he play centre-half for Japan against Germany in that?
Yeah, it was left-sided centre-half. I mean, we're here waxing, and sad about Yuri and Timber, thinking, well, he can play across that back foot. Tomiyasu can too. Ben White can too. I don't know. I trust Ben White at left back, but at a push, I'm sure he's good.
Swiss Army knife players. We've got them in abundance.
That's the point you just said, right? You've got to have. City had 6 defenders that could play across that back line. We're getting close to that now.
And I think we haven't really even seen Kirill, but I think he can be another one of those.
Yeah.
Who can play on the left-hand side as well. So it's just looking really good.
All right, let's talk about this. Before the show, before the whistle, my hottest of takes was that Mikel Arteta has got daddy issues when it comes to Pep Guardiola. He loses his mind. He's trying too hard. Daddy won't say he's proud. He won't say he's proud. He'll be saying it today, that's for sure. Has Mikel Arteta slayed the beast? Has he got over his psychological problems? Is this a big lift for the club in general? Because if the team that you can't beat is the team that keeps them topping you in the league, that's a problem. Guys, was it a Mikel Arteta masterclass out there today?
I weirdly have spent way too much time thinking about this Arteta Guardiola thing this week. And I think Mikel Arteta has been our manager. It's now his, 4th full season. I think it's a convenient narrative. I don't think he thinks like that. I don't think Guardiola thinks like that. I think they're friends. There's obviously an affinity there. But I don't think it's, I've got one over on you and you've got one over on me. I think it's taken Arteta this long to have enough players to do what he wants to do. And I think he did it today.
I think there's still one more step.
Winning there.
For me, which is to win away.
Yeah.
Because how many times has City gone and just smashed us at home, smashed us away, got the wins away. And so that's not to diminish today. It was phenomenal. We weren't playing away. We're playing at home today. But we're going to be playing them away. That game's getting rearranged. It's going to be an end of season title decider. And the big challenge then is going to be not getting beat. It's like you take the draw at the end of the season, or you take the win. If you need to win, you need to go and win. But I think the psychological blow, City aren't in a good spot. That's what you got to remember. They've just lost
2 in a row.
They lost 3 out of 4 in all competitions.
Yeah.
They're crawling into the international break.
City in crisis.
Oh,
love to hear it. You'd love to hear it.
I think
love to hear it.
Too soon to call
It's
that
not
after
that.
8. It's 8 games in. Say that after 20 and we'll have a conversation. But
I think the bigger deal about today wasn't just I don't think it's just a player thing with Arteta, because we slayed City early on in his tenure in that FA Cup semi-final. I think it's a psychological issue. I don't think players before games need to be calm. You don't want them stressed out. And I imagine that Arteta gets very stressed about the Manchester City game. And as results get worse and the streak goes on for longer, it gets more difficult for the players. And I think for the first half today, I don't think the players had belief. I don't think they believed they could beat Manchester City. And whatever was said in the dressing room at halftime gave them something extra. And I love this performance. It was inspired by players for sure, but that something was said in the dressing room. If there was an all or nothing, this would be one of the best dressing room speeches of the season, because they came out different in the second half. They didn't look overawed. They made City look small at times. They dominated. We turned the screws. We looked like champions in that second half. And my hope is that now we've got that out of the way. Guys, you've beaten this team before. Don't be fearful. You're as good as them.
There's 2 players I really want to sort of zero in on. The first one is our man of the match, is Martinelli. Apparently, he wasn't even fit. Apparently, just Trossard was injured, they're saying.
Yeah, well, this is in the comments. Apparently, Martinelli said he was ready. The physio said he wasn't. Arteta picked him, and then Trossard apparently had a knock, and he brought him on at halftime.
I mean, that's the reason why we have so many injuries, because Arteta's listening to players rather than medical experts.
Oh, yeah. The player said he was all right. Oh, don't worry about his leg hanging off.
That second half performance for me. Do you remember Cesc Fabregas? I think we touched on it in the before the whistle in relation to Saka. Remember Cesc Fabregas coming on against Aston Villa, hobbling on one leg, scored a couple of goals, turned the game around when we were a goal down. That Martinelli performance for me was one for the ages. He came on, and I mean, I don't think we've got another player who's got what he's got in the locker, in that determination to single-handedly
take control of
the game and change it and just bend the game to his will. I think obviously Saka and Odegaard can do it in a different way, but in terms of that, I mean, it's Thierry Henry-esque in that it's
relentless.
In that it's just give me the ball and I'm going to run full pelt 100% at you until you succumb. That's what Gabby Martinelli did today. And he came on right from the first instance, and the impact that has on the crowd when they see that. And Trossard, he's a good player. And he's a very valuable squad player. And I'm very, very happy he's at Arsenal. He's not a patch on Martinelli. Martinelli, in any other team, is the best player. In our team, he's been relegated to sort of third best player, which is fourth best player, because we've got Saka and Odegaard and Saliba. But I wouldn't be surprised if in 2 years Martinelli is our best player, because he does things that no one else can do. Because that directness, that drive, that determination, it was unreal.
Did you see the positions he was picking up later in the second half? I mean, he was picking the ball up in midfield, driving through the middle. He was running down the wing. He was tracking back and making tackles. I mean, the bloke looked like he gave more of a shit than absolutely anyone there. And absolutely everyone there gave a shit today.
I agree, guys. You're getting me so excited in this podcast.
Love that. Martinelli in an interview asked what Arteta told him. He said, do your thing. Yeah, do your fucking thing, Martinelli. And you know what that thing is?
Winning.
I love
Winning.
it. I love it. I love seeing Martinelli, and it just warms up. And then when that ball came out, it reminded me of that. It was different. And obviously, it got the deflection, but it felt like the ball back in the Barcelona home game years ago to Arshavin, where it's in slow motion and it's coming out, and is he going to do it? And then, the rest is history.
And I couldn't say this. Well, I'm going to say it. Couldn't have happened to a nicer bloke. Nathan Ake gets way too many plaudits. He's not that good.
Yeah, I agree with that. I love to see it. All right, let's talk about something else to end the show today. The Premier League table, guys. The Premier League table. It's looking very North Londonish, unfortunately. But the added benefit of today, and I didn't write about it in the blog before, I didn't talk about it, but Newcastle versus West Ham, it was a draw. Brighton versus Liverpool, it was a draw. Pep Guardiola said before the game that the two teams that will challenge for the Premier League this season are Liverpool and Arsenal. So, and I think we all know how good Newcastle are, but this was a really good day. Newcastle down in 8th position, unbelievable. But Arsenal, joint top of the Premier League, 2 points clear of Manchester City. I mean, if we'd said, where do you want to be come the second international break? I mean, sitting pretty in second place is not bad, guys. What do we make of this?
Well, I think there's two things to say here. Firstly, I think Newcastle have had tougher games than us, to be completely fair. They've played a lot more.
Well, we played City. We've played United.
Yeah, they've played Liverpool.
We haven't played
they've played a few more. But they had a great chance to win that game today. But so did West Ham, by the way. And West Ham are a really good side. That said, don't care about them. Not my team. Get stuffed. The reality.
United in 10th, Chelsea in 11th. Oh, we love it.
The reality about where we are in the table, and ignoring those twats at the top, is do you realise we have 2 points more than we did last season at this exact point?
Is that right? So
after 8 games, we had 18 points last season.
Well, if we hadn't have lost to City twice last season, we could have won the Premier League, right? That was why today's so important.
Everyone's worried, you know, Jurgen Klopp's asking for games to be replayed because he knows how difficult it is, even if you drop a point or two or whatever. Mate,
That is. But we don't look. Let's just be honest. It's Tottenham, guys. We don't need to worry about them, and it's just
We don't need to worry. Tottenham, everything's rolling for Tottenham. Like this is the exact replication of what happened under Unai Emery. The media are like, Arsenal are back. The fans are like, we've got our club back. There's like songs going around on the internet. Everyone's bathing in joy, but they're not looking at what's happening. Spurs, they're not going to last. No way.
You know what this Tottenham team reminds me of and what their manager reminds me of? Martinelli. That one good season when they finished fourth. And they thought, oh, that's only this turn. They're not.
You can't get by on good vibes.
They're not gonna
That's
win.
big Ange for me. He's just big vibes.
no. They've got their Tottenham back, which is
Great.
second tier.
Mediocre.
Second tier.
Bang out.
Play some good football. Get beaten sometimes.
It's like
Might win a League Cup.
Ozzy Ardiles, it's Klinsmann, it's Dimitrescu, it's
Cup
win
team.
some,
It's got cup team
win
written all
some,
over.
win some, lose some. But you know, for us, it's modern football system wins. Arteta,
Arteta all the way, and he's back on top. All right, guys, that was a beastly podcast. I have to tend to the biggest filled diaper I've ever seen in my life, wandering around my living room, currently rolling about on a white rug. So I better take care of that. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast. If you are listening to this on iTunes, give us a 5-star review. Someone gave us a 1 the other week.
really.
They gave us a 1 because we spoke about Tottenham on a Before the Whistle. I mean, it's like it's one of your mates,
I
man.
respect that.
Or was it the person that said Edu out that put the 1 star in? I think.
Yeah, it could be that. It could be that.
I respect that. That is a man of principle.
That is a matter of principle.
All
If you like listening to Patreons, go to patreon.com/the Arsenal Opinion. We do a lot of exclusive content. And if you want to get your fix of Arsenal, we're going to be going all through this international break. Aash, it was brilliant to have you on the second podcast of the season. Thank you for joining. I hope you two have a brilliant afternoon. Sink all of those Modelos. And if you're an Arsenal fan, go into that office with your head held high on Monday. The boogeyman has been slayed. Arsenal are near top of the league. International break is going to be a lot of smug. On that note, I'm going to say ciao for now.